What's up, everybody? Jacob Barnhill here with eXp Realty. I have a very, very exciting guest today. We're going to break down, we do these eXp testimonials so that people can see big team owners, independents, brokers, solo agents, and the whole gamut of why agents are coming over to eXp. What are those common concerns that they have? And what do they really love about coming over here once they're here, and what's so attractive about eXp? So we're going to break down my very special guest today, Lance Woodley, and his decision-making process. For those of you guys that don't know, Lance was one of the original team owners back in the day. Lance has over 27 years in real estate and actually started as you went to University of South Carolina as a finance guy, and you had a minor, I think, in, what was it? I had my notes to the side here. You had a
fine arts,
which I didn't know about you. I thought was really cool. So I'm so excited to really bust this wide open. You may know Lance as the South Carolina Lands and Home guys, right? That was his company. Now it is the Lance Woodley team at eXp. So a very dominant force here in Columbia, South Carolina. So without further ado, we have Lance Woodley, everybody. Lance, give us a little background, your words for us.
And hey, Jacob, thanks a lot for having me on. This is fun. Well, it's weird because I didn't plan this in college or anything, but having an interest in fine arts, I really dig art, but I wanted to make a living. So I got my degree in accounting.
Right.
Now in real estate, I feel like it works perfectly because and residential real estate especially, what does it come down to? Aesthetics and numbers. And I've got training in both. So that's it. I got into real estate from construction sales, thinking I was just going to have my license for the deals that I was doing because I was building some homes, flipping some homes, things like that. And I tell you, literally just the first month of having my license, I got absorbed into real estate, and I've been here ever since.
Super cool, man. So that's awesome. So you had all this experience in real estate, and a lot of people might think that you had this team and you had this independent brokerage, and you're in Columbia, South Carolina, like you were pretty stable with what you had, but along comes eXp. Tell us the very, very first time eXp came into your awareness. What was it? Tell us about that scenario. How did you find it?
Well, the guys from Charlotte reached out to me. Now it's been probably close to 3.5 years ago. And I was running my own company. I was I felt successful. I was making decent money and all. So, and I was busy. So I kind of put them off. Like, look, guys, I'm busy. But my wife, thank God for my wife. She saw something interesting, and so she went to talk to them. I said, well, if you want to go ahead. And if you feel like so she came back, she said, you need to carve out a minute and have a conversation with these guys. I said, well, if you really feel that way, I'll do it. When I met with Tom and Rich from the Charlotte area, and they showed me the model, I tell you, frankly, it blew me away. And this is what I thought. I was like, wait, there's something they're not telling me.
Right.
It can't be all this good. Yeah. And so that's how it kind of happened. Now, it took me a while dissecting this and trying to figure it out. But I've been connected with a lot of large agents from around the United States, large, very successful agents, right. Jay Kinder and Mark Z and Marty, on and on, the #1 Remax agent in the United States for a decade. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to call them and see if they've heard about eXp and what they think about it. Every single one of them that I called had already moved to eXp. And I was kind of like, I remember joking with, I think it was Mark Z, and he's the #1 agent in Michigan. I was like, so Mark, what am I, chopped liver? Was anyone going to clue me in on this? And I think that's the thing. And I asked Mark, I said, Mark, now tell me the truth. What do you not like about eXp, or what would you change if you could? And he said, Lance, the #1 thing I would change is I would have done this 5 years earlier. And that's what made my decision. I said, these guys are too successful, too smart. I'm going to make the move. And I did. After now 28 months or so, I couldn't be happier.
That's awesome, man. You summed up so much right there. And I really want to break down. I mean, I do these every week, sometimes multiple times a week, and have conversations with people all the time. And that one thing that you said right there, I mean, everyone that comes over wishes. I was just talking with a lender yesterday, just pleading, like, he's like, I don't know why I didn't buy the stock earlier. Right? Like, I wish I would have made a decision earlier about some of the stuff with eXp. I mean, we're talking like when we were around $5 a share is when he first saw this, and he had someone like talking about the stock. So, but I hear that from everyone all the time. I wish I would have came over sooner. Right? So let's talk about that real quick. I mean, the first time that you got presented eXp is what we're talking about, but you probably saw signs up around town. You probably saw it somewhere before that. And, you know, when you initially see this stuff, it's not something, and that's also a very common thing, what you did, where I've heard many times before where they're just like, you know what, I'm busy right now. I don't want to, when you told those guys the first time you saw it, like, I have other stuff going on. That's not another thing. Even like right now, I love eXp. And if someone had a better opportunity, they brought it to me right now, that would be hard for me to like stop and go, you know, it's really hard. I'm working on a lot of things right now, right? To look at another opportunity. But let's talk about the opportunity within, right? I think there's a certain person that's open, and sometimes it's about timing, like with many things. But when you actually found the time and you were looking at eXp for the first time, in that moment where you're like, there's got to be something that they're holding back. Was there actually anything that you didn't like when you were looking at eXp for the first time?
No. I mean, that's why I was curious. I'm like, nothing is as good as they say it is up front. Actually, I like it even more than I thought I would. So there's nothing that I've bumped into that I've disliked.
So let's talk about that. When you were first looking at it, what stood out to you the most, that was the most attractive with the first time you were looking at eXp?
Well, you know, I like the fact that it was a model that allowed you to get really good, to do better and better at selling real estate. But also right in the model, it helps us to build up our financial security, wealth, residual income. And I've never seen a model before that did that. Usually, you know, myself, you know, I started my own company 14 years ago or so. And, you know, so I created commissions. But as far as everything else, I did it myself. And I'm like most people, some things I did, you know, seems like genius. Some things I've done seems like a real dummy. So, you know, so I've done good. I've done good as far as that goes, but I had to put all that effort into it. With eXp, I feel like I'm just selling real estate. My stock is just piling up without me putting any effort into it.
Right.
I guess that's kind of the one thing that caught my eye. The other thing is that owning a small brokerage, and people that haven't done this before, it can be really, there's parts of it that can be terrible. I mean, there's parts of it that are really laborious, takes you away from what you really like to do.
Right.
eXp gives you autonomy. And so I run the Lance Woodley team, and now I basically get to do all the things I like to do, and all the things I didn't like to do, they take care of. Like, just for instance, E&O insurance. It got to the place that I felt like I would kill at least a couple of weeks of my time every year getting quotes on E&O. Every year it seemed to go up for no reason and things like that. And now I don't have to do that. You know, I pay a max of $500 a year and I'm covered by E&O insurance.
Well, let's say I'm an independent broker right now. I'm listening to you and I'm just like, I don't want to, I'm my own man, right? I have my own company. Why would I pay someone a cap? right? I'm independent. Help me make sense of this right now.
Well, I tell you, and like one of my agents said that came over with me, and I tell you, she had a struggle with committing to making the move to eXp because she wasn't understanding the numbers. She's told me just recently she's never made as much money in her life before since coming to eXp. And that's so the cost that I have been able to get rid of because of coming to eXp, that tiny little cap, I'm in the black, not in the red. And then on top of it, because I'm an icon agent, the cap, the $16,000 that I pay into eXp, I'm in my third year. I'll get it this year also. I get that $16,000 back in stock on top of all the other stock I get.
So typically, like with a franchise, right? You were independent. With a franchise, like someone might have to pay a lot of money to open up a shop. Like, you coming over with an independent brokerage, like was there cost to this coming up, like financial cost to actually come over here? Or was it just purely giving up some expenses? Just so everyone knows, like what actually happened when you guys made that transition financially on both sides.
Yeah. The cost to come over was huge. It was $149. So $149 to be with eXp. And then the cost that I gave up to, I think the last year I was paying, even after my agents contributed to the E&O insurance, I think on top of it, I still was chipping in somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000. And then the administrative costs. And not only the cost of the administrative acts or work was the way it consumed my time. I would get a closing in. I literally remember one day coming into my office and there was like 4 or 5 closings on my desk. And I said, oh, heck. And then I caught myself. I was like, wait a minute, Lance, that's what you want. You want these closings. But I would have to take each closing. I would have to move the money from the escrow account to the operating account, do the breakdowns for my agents, write them their checks. And I mean, it sounds like something that's easy to do, but just 4 or 5 closings could take me, several hours just to go through it.
Right. So cool. So you obviously found a lot of financial benefits coming over, more income, not only for you, but for your agents, which I think is so valuable. And like the number one value proposition, if I'm ever talking to someone not at eXp, who's got agents, it's like, dude, I know you care about your agents. If you have people that work for you, you have to care. If you're leading them and they're following you, you care about them. And being able to not only have this opportunity for yourself as owner, but have them, you come over with your brand, you come over still in this ownership position, but you are leveraged at a very low cost. I mean, it's so hard to explain sometimes, but either case, I'm sure that there was a lot to consider when you were making this decision and getting your team to bite off on this, getting your team to want to make this transition with you, given the size of your team as well. Talk to us about the considerations and some of the fears that you had initially when you knew you were going to do this and how you were going to actually share this with your team.
Well, so I had a discussion with the team and I said, we're going to have someone that's going to come down and explain a business model to us that I want everyone to hear. So Tom came down, explained the business model. And this business model is different enough, and it's really all different in a positive way, but it is kind of like drinking water out of a fire hose when you first hear it. It's like it can be hard to understand. And I had several team members that were just dead set against it. And then I had a few that were kind of like they were on the fence. They didn't know if it was the right thing, but they kind of believed in me. So out of the few that just decided it wasn't right for them, I know one of them went to another brokerage And I think it was less than 6 months. He actually just dropped his license altogether. Another one, I think he sells a house or two a year now. And now out of the ones that decided to stay, one of the agents that decided to stay with me, I mentioned Elizabeth. She decided to go ahead and give it a chance. She is so happy she did. She's, like I said, just recently, she's told me, I've never made more money in real estate since we came to eXp. And the other gentleman, that he said that really he was confused about the business model, but he believed in me, so he decided to give it a chance. Last year, he told me the exact same thing Elizabeth did, and they, this wasn't anything they talked about, but he came into my office and he said, "Man, I want to thank you." He said, he said the same thing, and he's closer to my age. He said, "I've never made so much money in my life." He said, "This was a godsend."
Yeah, that's amazing, man. It literally gives me goosebumps, like hearing that, because that's what it's all about, man. Like changing people's lives. When you step into a leadership position and you have that level of trust where people just trust you, they don't even know why, eXp works. They're just like, "But I trust you," and then it work out. That's just amazing. That's a great feeling. So, all right, so you guys are now at eXp. Let's break this down a little bit further. You guys are there, and you haven't got all the thank yous yet. You guys are making this transition. What were some of the struggles you guys were going with, and some of the successes? Some things that people were seeing that you guys were trying to figure out. What was that like, that transition, once you guys were actually over?
Well, I tell you, one of the things among many things that I really liked, because up front, I didn't quite understand all the tools that we have, SkySlope, things like that. SkySlope has taken away all my administrative hassles. KV Core, the CRM, a lot of it, our cloud office. It is the most efficient office I've ever been into. One day, and this was early in my transition, I had a question for accounting, and I also had a problem with my computer. I have a new computer now, but this was my old computer, and I had an audio thing. Right. And I was thinking, I've just killed my whole day. This is going to take all day. I went into accounting. I took a ticket. Within 30 seconds, they called me in. They know who you are. "Hello, Lance. How can we help you?" Told them what the issue was, and I really can't even remember exactly what it was. It was probably about a commission check or something. I was in and out of there with questions answered in less than 15 minutes. I went over to tech support, and I said, "Look, my audio is going in and out. I'm having a problem. Let us take over your computer, Lance." Took over, did it, same thing. It wasn't even 15 minutes. I was out of there, and my computer was fixed. I was like, this is amazing. Yeah. And then, but one thing that, real estate can kind of be a cutthroat kind of business sometimes. Depends on who you're working with or whatever. The camaraderie and the support that you get from eXp is just unbelievable. A little over a year ago, I was in Mexico, and my wife and my daughters, they were out shopping. So I was on the beach by myself, sitting there. I think I was smoking a Cuban cigar. They're legal down there. And I was watching a little video with Don Hobbs and Brent Gove. Mm-hmm. And, those guys are big. Yeah. And I was curious about, I like what they were talking about. I was just curious. So I went to our workplace, which is our Facebook for eXp. And I went to the chat and I looked up Don Hobbs, and I just sent him a message. And this was late in the afternoon, 5 o'clock or so, Puerto Vallarta time. Right. And I said, "Wow, that was interesting what you and Brent were talking about. I would like to know more." I kind of assumed that maybe I would get an email from someone on his staff or something in a week or so or something like that. The next day, I was in Old Town, Puerto Vallarta, and actually, my wife and daughters were doing something together again, and I was sitting someplace having an espresso, and I get a call. It was Don Hobbs. We were on the phone for 30 minutes. I mean, that's just unheard of, to reach up to one of the top people and they actually call you back and give you time and show you that they care. And that's what I've found at eXp. It's incredible.
Yeah. Top producers we get to learn from. My favorite thing about eXp is the collaboration. And everyone, we're not going to lie to each other here, Lance. Like, everyone has collaboration. But the way that this is set up, the collaboration, it's like it spreads like a wildfire because of the way this model is set up. Like, it's built into the ecosystem and the way that this works from the ground up. So I love that, man. That's awesome. So there's so much stuff that I could go into, and our time is short here, man. But I want to ask you, like, what's your favorite thing now? You have all these things that, these are really great solutions. We got things that we're offloading. We're decreasing our operating expenses and things like that, increasing our income. What's your favorite thing about eXp now that you're over here?
Wow, favorite.
Pick one. If you had to pick one, what would it be?
I really like the way we work together and the tools and the support you have for being able to sell real estate at a higher level. I really like that for not just myself, but for my team, because part of my passion is helping younger agents. And when I say younger, I'm just talking about younger than me, so they don't have to be 20. But helping younger agents actually develop meaningful careers. Yeah. And the tools are here. The tools, the support, the training, it's here to allow that to happen. So that's, I guess, if I had to pick just one thing, but you made it hard for me there, Jacob, because there's so many things to pick from. No. I don't mind that stock piling up either.
Yeah, I've heard so many good stories. Like, that surprises people. I've had people like brush that off. They tell me a story and they're like, and I just checked it one day. And they have sizable teams too. And they have a good chunk of change in there, multiple six figures, and they wouldn't even looking at it. You know what I mean? So it's really amazing. So there's somebody that's watching this video, Lance, and they're on the fence. They might be solo. Yeah. They might have a team. They might have an independent brokerage, and they're on the fence. They're thinking the same thing. They're like, I'm not sure. There's some fine print. What am I missing? And there's, these people that are considering this. What do you want to kind of yell from the mountaintops at these people that are, I see eXp, I'm trying to figure it out, or I'm on the fence and I'm not sure. What is that thing you just want to scream from the mountaintops at them so that they'll get it?
Just do it. For one thing, I tell you, there's no risk. If you make the move and you somehow feel like it is not right for you, you can change. But in this business environment today, if you're wanting to be a team leader, you can do it with a lot less cost, a lot less risk, a lot less liability, right here at eXp. Myself, going through it, and there was a lot of things I liked about it, and especially when you first open up a company, a small company, you feel big, like, wow, I'm a big shot. I own a real estate company. And then you get all the other stuff that comes with that. It's like, oh, I own a real estate company, it's great. And even the top guys, I've met Glenn Sanford, our founder, personally. Even before I actually came over, I've met some of the biggest guys in the company. They encourage the autonomy. I remember Glenn told me, he said, Lance, we want you to come over and we want you to be the Lance Woodley team. It's not just eXp, it's the Lance Woodley team at eXp Realty. Yep. So, I mean, I love it.
Yep, we kept our brand. We kept our what we worked to build, and the Barnhill team. So I've always called it the interdependent model. I picked that up, from my time at Keller Williams. There's interdependent models out there that allow you to operate like you want to, but under their brokerage to offset those expenses and liability and increase the opportunity and decrease your overhead. So, Lance, this was so good today. If anybody wanted to reach out to you and they want to talk more about eXp, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, you can call me 803-414-3320. That's my cell phone. You can call me directly, or you can send me an email, lance.woodley@exprealty.com. And let me say this one last thing too.
Go ahead.
Jacob.
Yes.
The other thing that I think should be an eye-opener to everyone is, my understanding is, out of the 50 largest teams in the United States, it's like 35 of them are at eXp now. Some of the biggest, most successful real estate agents in the United States and now around the world are at eXp. These people moved to eXp for a reason. They weren't Glenn's buddies or anything like that. These people, some of them were like me. They probably didn't even know Glenn until they heard about eXp, but they've done it for a reason. And right here in the area, look at the people that we have. You, Jacob. How about our buddy Braden? Braden probably has more houses under contract than any other single agent out there in the area right now. And there's many others. I'm not leaving anyone out. There's too many to start naming all of them. But I think that should tell you something.
Yep, absolutely, man. We got a lot of top producers, and we ain't done yet. We're on a mission to share eXp and the power, and I'm happy that we're all collaborating at a higher level recently. So I'm really excited about all that, man. And this was great, man. I really appreciate you taking some time, I know, out of your busy day to share your story and talk to all of us about your journey over to eXp. So any last words of wisdom you want to share with us before we sign off for today?
Well, I think I've said it all, but I really appreciate it, Jacob. This has been fun, and I like sharing. Just like you, I think this is the business model for real estate right now. If you are developing, if you have a real estate career, you should be at eXp.
Absolutely, man. I think this was so good, Lance. Thank you again so much for your time and sharing your story. We'll have to get you back on we got a new podcast that's coming on, so I'll definitely be reaching out to you again, man, for our Action-Oriented Agent podcast. But thank you again for sharing your testimonial for eXp. And that's it for today, guys. I appreciate it. If you guys want to reach out to Lance, reach out to Lance. There's so many concerns, decisions, but also opportunities. So make sure you reach out to Lance if you guys got questions about eXp, and we will see you guys on the next eXp testimonial. Peace out, guys.
Thanks, Jacob.
Thanks, Lance.